Good morning, everyone. This is Makram with Makram's Motivational Monday, and it's a beautiful day here in Minneapolis. And I just thought I'd sit for a moment and just reflect on the past 30 days. Many of you know that we just completed the month of Ramadan, the fasting month for Muslims. So nearly 1.8 to 2 billion Muslims in the world have spent from dawn to dusk or sunrise to sunset fasting and leaving off food and drink and desires, and really trying to improve ourselves and get closer to God. And this has been I would say, a particularly challenging month with all of the things that are going on in the world, and we see the issues of violence and disparities and that are always ever present. But even in the midst of all of these things, we're called to focus on our relationship with God. And I just wanted to offer maybe just 4 areas that I personally experienced and that really showed itself up to me, and areas that I felt good about, but also things that challenged me throughout this month. And I hope it's helpful for you. So the first thing is with my patience. You know, that patience is a virtue, as we know. We've grown up to know this, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I found myself at times being challenged with, my patience, trying to tolerate things that were really annoying, and people that were also annoying, and really perhaps presenting some sort of argument or an idea that was contrary to one that I maybe have held. But in this month of Ramadan, I challenged myself to hold patience and not to become so annoyed, if you will, and try to say, try to just endure some of the things that normally I would perhaps, maybe lash out at or speak at, but not allow it to disrupt my presence or the peace that I have in my own presence. And I think this was, again, a challenge for me, but I felt at times I was winning, and sometimes I was maybe backpedaling a little bit on that. But nonetheless, it allowed for me to be conscious and be aware. And I think that's really what the point of it all is that, there's never a point in time where you're going to be all things to all people. You're going to be good on all fronts in your life at every single time. But the idea is to move the needle and to get better day in and day out. And I do feel blessed to be able to say that though I can be an impatient person at times, but I did work on that this month and tried to keep my patience as much as possible during even very difficult times, the times when people were really, I felt, almost provoking certain things that was going on, maybe not even directly, but even through the news media and whatnot, trying to really draw some things out of us, and we're so reactive to things. And I was very proud to say that I tried to resist that as much as possible, but this is a work in progress for all of us. So patience is one of the things that really bubbled to the top. One of the second things was this idea, we're not eating. We weren't eating. We are eating today, thank goodness. We are eating today. But we weren't eating or drinking. And I remember at the very beginning of the month, how many times that, when you really started to just get into the fast and get into the month of Ramadan, you're undoing a lot of old habits, and the habit of mindless eating and just going to the refrigerator, grabbing a snack or a piece of candy or whatever the case may be. This was something that I found myself, I have a pack of chewing gum that was in one of my jacket pockets, and I would just go to it and grab it and have to, oh wow, I'm fasting, I can't do that, and having to really rethink the idea of how many times do I just consume something even without just even thinking about it. It's just almost out of habit. And this month allowed me to go back and to really revisit those habits. I had to be very, very present in the idea that I'm not taking anything in. I'm not going to consume anything, and yes, that food looks great, but it's the middle of the day, and it's not lawful for me to engage it at that time. So going through these things, I think, really helps, again, with that level of discipline that many times we might lose throughout the course of of the year, you know, where sometimes we get to a point where this mindless eating was really is about unmindfulness. It's about overconsumption. More than just the actual food itself. It's about this idea of how much we just take in without setting any limits or without even thinking about it. So mindless eating was one of these ideas that showed itself to me throughout this month and helped me to improve on that a bit going forward. Thirdly, I would say it was charity. And I tried my best to be more and more charitable this month and making certain that even those folks who I would see, many of us, you know, if we're blessed and fortunate enough to, you know, have a home and a source of income and a vehicle to move around with to get to point A to point B, then we see people that are out here, they're struggling. You know, many times they may be holding a sign or asking for some sort of help. And I made it my business this month to keep a little extra, some money and some few dollars around, that when I encountered people that were in this situation, that I did my best to give them something. I did my best to share something with them, and I didn't, without judgment. Without judgment. I wasn't judging their situation. I wasn't judging, you know, what they might do with what I give them. That wasn't my business. That's not my business. That wasn't really what my charge was. My charge was to work on me. My charge was to be more giving out of me, and to respect who they are as a human being, even if they're not in the best state, even if they're not in the best condition, but that I can make a contribution to them and make certain that we're doing it in a way that's not condescending, that's not, you know, patronizing, but just out of genuine concern and care, one human being to another. So we try to be much more charitable during this month of Ramadan, and this again raises the bar. You know, I want to continue this practice, you know, throughout the rest of the year, making certain that I remain conscious that though I'm in a good position and I'm blessed by God, I truly feel that every single day that I wake up, that I also have a responsibility to those who may not be doing as well as I am, and I need to make a contribution to their well-being as well. So charity is one of those, the third thing that really bubbled up for me. And last but not least, it's really we increase our prayers during the month of Ramadan, and we talk to God more. We talk to God, you know, and God speaks to us through whether we're reading our scripture, our text, but also just through our own personal supplication. And just the increased communication with God, I found to be very, very comforting. I found it to be very rewarding and much more centering. And again, the hustle and bustle of life makes us get away from relationships that we know we need to be tending to more intentionally. And this relationship with God is one of the primary focuses during the month of Ramadan. And I'm pleased, you know, that I was able to pray more. I was able to talk to God more. I was able to allow God to talk to me and influence who I am. And this has a profound effect over time. And again, one that we're constantly working to improve, constantly working to stay engaged with, so that I can be a better person. So whether it's the patience, you know, the mindless eating, the charitable works, and the communication with God are four of the areas that I felt that really showed itself up to me. Not that I have these things all down and complete. Not that I have them all, I'm 100% good on all these things. No. But these things showed up in my life during this past month as areas that I know I need to focus on. Areas that I know that these things will make me better and that I'm committed to doing going forward. So dear people, if you have never fasted a day, just stop eating and drinking and not seeking desires, you know, with your spouses, etc. If you haven't tried that, please do. Try that. You will find a strength that you didn't know that you had. It will also show you up areas that you're challenged in, and it will make you know what those things are very acutely and very right in your face. But I encourage everyone to try to fast. Fast a day. Fast a couple of days. A couple of days a month, perhaps. It's a wonderful practice that not only is good for your mind, your body, but also your spirit. So people, as you go about your day, you go about your week, as always, be great.